One of the most important articles we've put out in recent times is up at Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com, our news websites. Why the banking elite want riots in America. Civil War II, the economic imperative for mass social unrest. And that ties in to, of course, people calling for civil war and the killing of police in mass on the so-called left and the praising of their hero, Chris Dorner. Whether this is a real story or not, it has a lot of telltale signs that it is real, but they won't let a good crisis go to waste. You better believe that. But again, that's coming up at the bottom of the hour. Now, we're also streaming video at InfoWarsNews.com or PrisonPlanet.tv. We'll also get you there. And so I want to show viewers some numbers and a basic equation here as I break down the fact that America and the West are being deindustrialized and economically imploded by design. And this is what Agenda 21 is all about. And knowing this can turn everything around. If we can ever have a real debate with the ruling political class and the minions they're buying and selling, then it can be game over for them. But let's explain something. Throughout history, and this is covered in the book that we sell, None Dare Call It Conspiracy, that was out of print for a long time, by Gary Allen, who was working with people like Larry McDonald in Congress and others to expose this, that a tiny, tiny elite, not 2%, but much smaller than that, is anti-free market, and that everywhere they get in control throughout history, it's the same oligarchical system of crony capitalism, crony insider monopolyism. Every time they get in control, the middle class disappears, a giant underclass is formed, and a tiny elite then segregates themselves into protected areas, walled cities within the city, controlling the general population. And this is the real political paradigm. In fact, if you're watching on TV, I want to show people an article here out of the London Guardian. It says, shocking figures reveal the growth in UK's wealth gap. The middle class is disappearing. The poor are surging in numbers, but a tiny, tiny, tiny fraction, they say 1%. I actually went and did the math on there. It's less than 1/10 of 1%. Has seen a ultra-massive increase in their wealth. There's been a 18 to 19% drop in the poor in what they've been making, and a huge increase, depending on how you break the numbers down, in the so-called rich. And then the Organization for Economic Cooperative Development, that's what did the Marshall Plan. That's the banking receivership arm of the UN. That's the real global government. At the heart of it is the OECD. Key organization of Economic Cooperative Development. They're on all the big global government treaties, you name it. They then criticize themselves and their own policies, offering socialism as the solution to no jobs, no economy, no system, where they've used regulations and bureaucracy to wreck everything. So there's just one example. Now the ultra, not even 1/10 of 1%. It's way past that. They want to blame the 2%. The local person that makes $500,000 a year, that's got boats, that's got cars, that comes to your restaurant, that buys clothes, that goes to the golf course, that actually has a business, runs things, has a bunch of employees, and then goes out and spends that money and flies to Cancun and flies to New York to see a play. That's who you want. You want more of those upper middle class, or new rich, nouveau riche, as the French call them. In every economy, that's who you want, because they have a tendency to grow and grow and grow, and then lift up the poorest. The poorest people start living like the last generation's rich. Now, the globalists say this is bad for the earth. Let's not go shopping. And, of course, there's extremes in that. The wealth does eat up resources. The wealth does cause decadence, to where people get so wealthy, even the poor, they don't care anymore because they've got their cheeseburgers. So there's an equation there where this type of wealth does create a lot of slob behavior and spoiled, rotten kids. And so the elites sit there and they argue, hey, you got a bunch of people that are animals. We're soft killing them. It's come out. They don't care. Let's just go ahead and wipe them all out, and we'll enjoy the life extension, and we'll end war and set up a global government. The difference is the globalists throughout this entire program They're the ones putting out the GMO and the cross species and the super mutated insect viruses in the food and the zoological disorders cross species and the fission fusion and the antimatter reactors and the Black Manta Sabo armed drones and the particle beam laser blimp installations and all of this stuff that is statistically, I've studied it, absolutely, totally dangerous. And these people are not in control of it. But they're in a race with a few other elites. They don't want the Arabs to get the technology. They've got a double deal with the communist Chinese I'm going to get to in a moment. But they're absolutely in an arms race with themselves, and they're in control of most of the world, but they're not in control with their own internal power structures and the less than 20 families, 1,000 members of that, 6,000 servant superclass that aids them, according to the Kissinger Group, prospectus breakdown. Because they have to understand themselves. They publish books, they publish periodicals discussing themselves. Tragedy and Hope, Superclass, Brzezinski's new book. I mean, there's a bunch of them. And it's just all openly discussed there. How they're going to kill us and how they're going to take over. And I mean, you read stuff by Brzezinski written in the 70s, it's all come true. They're about 6, 7 years behind, maybe a decade. But if you back it up, and they admit they're behind, and by the way, this is when they're talking to the CFR. They think you're so dumb. He goes on the CFR on television and admits all this. Just leaving tiny membranes of plausible deniability in there where he talks about maybe this isn't a good idea, maybe it is, but this is where it's going. Again, they tell you, Bill Joy tells you in the April issue 2000 of Wired Magazine, why the future doesn't need us. And again, I'm telling you, again, I don't deserve this, and you don't deserve this. I have had the establishment reach out to me over the years, and it's always off record. As a journalist, I can't talk about it, or no one will ever reach out to me again. Intermediaries, presidents, vice presidents, billionaires, you name it, well-known people, to like, Alex, I know it's bad, but you know the elite are bad? Look how ugly the public is politically and how they tear you apart. They hate you. You're never going to help them. You might as well join the establishment and try to work from within. How would you like a show on the national TV? How would you like book deals every, 6 months? How would you like to be, the next Rush Limbaugh? I mean, this is how the system works. This is how the system operates. People that have sold out to the system, they've heard this speech before. Oh, globalism's to raise the third world and to empower them. And sure, it'll lower our standard, but we want to lift them up. Then you get the actual inside IMF World Bank prospectus on how they were going to implement the treaty, because governments won't sign on to these, even if they know it's a con job for the public, unless they know the inside deal of what this treaty implementation means. Take the Copenhagen Treaty from 3 years ago at the UN Summit for Global Carbon Taxes. And the third world leaders got it and said, we're right at 195% or almost double the taxes of the West. You were supposed to destroy the West and give us the money, not raise taxes and deindustrialize the West, and then you were going to industrialize us. And see, and that's the public sale of Agenda 21, which is the global zoning rules of eugenics and the post-industrial economy, which on its surface you can say, hey, we shouldn't be so wasteful. We shouldn't be so slovenly. We shouldn't just buy things in some malfunctioning hunter-gatherer mechanism, off the home shopping network and pile your garage up full of junk you never open and crap you don't need. You see, they've got a good sales, but on the level. But this isn't a real debate about nations working together to have real goals and not be so slovenly and honoring men and women in our roles and building society. No, at its heart, it sells the mighty. It sells the virtuous. It sells the good on corruption and evil, but in the name of helping humanity and saving the earth. So that's my real indictment, is that this is a very ugly thing. Now, when we come back from break, I'm going to go over the statistics, but let's start doing this now. There's 7.5 billion people, roughly. Now, Rothkopf and the Kissinger Group, who I've interviewed on air, you can look it up 5 years ago, they came on. And I said, why are you here? And he goes, well, I'd like to talk to you openly and, maybe talk some sense into you. Would you like to talk sometime off air? By the way, John Harmon was running the show that day. He was a witness to this. During the breaks, I'm talking to Rothkopf, and I didn't agree, didn't be nice with him on air, and he said, that's it, I'm never talking to you again. People say, well, get Rothkopf on again. You see, most journalists get to talk to people like that, or Lord Rothschild, or whoever we got on, the heir to the Rothschild, and you're supposed to just, they come on to see if you'll kiss their butt. The minute I kiss their butt, I'd be on a jet airplane paid for by them to London. By the way, I've been offered before by some of the most powerful people in the world to be flown to London.
Is it not, my king, time to spring the trap?
No, we must desecrate the soul and the flesh of the Creator's creation.
The chain of life broken forever. A monument to our beauty.
All right. Now, again, this was the most important information I could cover, so I hope you're taking notes. I hope you're listening. We've got a part 1 of this report today up at Infowars.com. Tomorrow, part 2 is coming out. Why the banking elite want riots in America, Civil War II, the economic imperative for mass social unrest, where their own documents linked in this article. How they plan to make you poor and then cause riots and cause civil wars. They've done this all over the world to bring in even more control. But I'm telling you how the trick works. See, when you're a little kid and the magician's up there and it looks like, you know, he really cut the lady in half or he really pulled a rabbit out of a hat. But once you learn the trick, you see it and you know it. And I'm here to teach you the trick, folks. I'm here to teach you what I've learned studying these people and studying history. And it's not hard. It's not like I'm guessing the trick. They all write manuals, white papers, government documents, public reports like you don't exist. Because they know you want to go watch the football game or go to the topless bar or do whatever it is you do, or, you know, go to church and hear some preacher worship the government instead of Christ. And they know you're not focused on this information. Now, I know our audience is, but I'm talking to all of the, I don't know, tens of thousands of new listeners a day. We're getting like 2-3 new affiliates a week. I want you to understand global government is a global crime monopoly of Ponzi scheme operators that have taken almost the entire world over through fraud. And they want to attack the 2%. That's all that's left of what they call the rich. And somebody making $250,000 a year, the husband and wife, that is not rich with the devalued dollar. Okay? Now, when your granddaddy's got, you know, airports named after him, and you've got, you know, you're on the board of 100 companies, and your wealth is tax exempt, then you're wealthy. That Forbes list is nothing, ladies and gentlemen. There are families leveraging, it's been estimated. The Russian press estimated when they arrested a bunch of oligarchs, the Rothschilds have leveraged, this is a decade ago, $300 trillion. $300 trillion. And they don't spend that. They use it as a political weapon. Now, let's go over the math here. Look at this. 7.5 billion people on Earth, roughly. 1,000, it's really less than that, members of the less than 20 families, okay? And it's only in those families a few people controlling the wealth. 6,000 super gophers serving them. This is all out of the Kissinger group, okay? Now, let's do the math of that. 1,000 people out of 7.5 billion. We're not talking about the 2% out of 100. So you've got 98 as the enemy of the 2%. And if they just didn't have that wealth, it's this 2% that comes to the golf course, the 2% that buys plane tickets, the 2% that comes to the opera. It's the bottom 99.99999% of that 2% that makes the world go round. Okay, they make the world go round. And the rest of the 20 or 30% below them. Okay, now historically, this tiny 1,000 out of 7.5 billion, they use feudalism to have managed economies so no one can challenge them. They want monopolies. Now, what is 1,000 people out of 7.5 billion is 0.0000001333333. So it's the 0.0000001333333 that we're talking about. And by the way, there are actually some people in that top little percentage that actually made their money off real things. So that's even discriminatory. But the majority of that wealth, of the 1,000 superclass, has been stolen or gotten through combines, okay? And these guys are the ones, every case, pushing globalism, pushing the 1.5 quadrille. How many zeros is that? 1.5. How many zeros are in a quadrille? I know it goes quite a while. 93% on average of that globally, this is even the Washington Post, is derivatives that they created that are not ours. Our national debt, 16, well, it's about to be 17 trill. 17 trill compared to 1.5 quadrille. They're telling us, too big to fail, we've signed on to this. We've signed on to the 1.5 quadrille, and then the media is sitting there knowing people don't pay attention to numbers. They're telling us that we owe all this and we're deadbeat slouches because of the 17 trill. And it's true, the debt's gone up 200 and something% since Obama got in. They're trying to get us into some real debt. A quadrillion has 15 zeros? Or more than 50, yeah. Is it 24? I can't even keep track of this anymore. All right, we're going to come back and get into the meat of this, and then I promise your phone calls. Be patient. But now I've covered the background on this, I want to explain the fact of why the economy will never come back unless we arrest the globalist. ProPure is introducing Pro One. All of your filtration in one system, portable, on the go. This is the Pro One by ProPure. You wanted it, you got it. No more do you have 2 or 3 filters to just reduce sodium fluoride. You have a system that cuts out the sodium fluoride and up to 95% of hydrofluorosilicic acid. Advanced manufacturing technology combines silver-impregnated white ceramic with new Aquamedics advanced media for removal of fluoride and other heavy metals, all in one filter element. It cuts out the acid derivative of fluoride. It is the only one that does it, and out of the gates, we have it discounted at 10% off with promo code WATER. This is the only system that in one unit helps reduce or remove pesticides, herbicides, chloramines, ammonia, and chlorine, hydrofluorosilicic acid, the most common form of fluoride not covered by other fluoride filter brands, and sodium hexafluorosilicate. This is a revolution against the tyrants. They love putting the toxic acid base of fluoride into your water. They love the fact that it's an adjuvant supercharging the trace Prozac in the water and the hormones and the other chemicals. By cutting out fluoride, you cut out the turbocharger in all the poison being artificially introduced into your body. This is what I use. It's a win-win. You get a high-quality product at the lowest price. You support the InfoWar. Get your ProPure with the new Pro One filter today at InfoWarsStore.com or by calling 888-253-3139. I am 110% committed, come life, death, hell, or high water, to defense of humanity, not because I'm a hero, but because I have life force. The globalists have not turned off my life force. They've not turned me over to their system of evil. They've not turned me against my own survival instinct. They've not taught me to hate humanity, as ugly as they've tried to make us, as much evil as they've poured into us. I love God and I love justice, and I hate the New World Order. Thank you for joining us. All right, let me finish up with this incredibly important information, then I'll go to your phone calls. And then in the third hour, we're going to cover the reported cop shooter and all that's happening and the push for a civil war in this country with an investigative journalist, Holland Vanden Nieuwenhof, who agrees with my analysis and has a lot of cogent points to add. You've heard him co-host the transmission before. Now, before we go any further here, let me just recap that the ultra-rich are monopoly men, and they are, out of the 7.5 billion people, they are 0.0000133333333%. And they've signed us on to their 1.5 quadrillion. That's actually a 3-year-old number. It's closer to 2 quadrillion or 2,000 trillion. And that's got 24 zeros. A quadrillion does, 24 zeros on it. So we're talking about quite a bit of money, which is hundreds of times more than all the real assets in the world as they're currently valued. But the globalists have signed us on to too big to fail, and then they take $25 billion a month and pump it directly into that. Not to prop it up. They've already written that off. To destroy wealth, raising payroll taxes on people making $22,000 a year. I apologize. It's in CNBC today. I thought it was $30,000 and up. You got a payroll increase. I'm sorry. $22,000 a year. That is poverty by any mark in most areas of the country. I guess there's a few areas where stuff's so cheap you could live like that. And you count the property taxes and the rest of it. I mean, this is total enslavement and so cold-blooded. But that's because we have the most cold-blooded elite ever who sees cold-bloodedness as a virtue. Now, let's go over some of the articles here for people watching on TV. Radio listeners, these are all up at Infowars.com. China eclipses U.S. as biggest trading nation. I'm just going to read these headlines and then go back into them. China eclipses U.S. as biggest trading nation measured in goods, not in fake fiat GDP. Fed's holdings of Fed's, again, Fed's a lie. It's not, the Federal Reserve's not Fed. Fed's holdings of U.S. government debt hit record $1.696691 trillion, up 257% under Obama. People are like, wow, they're going to bankrupt us. They don't seem to care. We're going over a cliff. They've run it over the cliff in Mexico, Argentina, Brazil, Nigeria, South Africa, England, Germany. They've done this everywhere over and over again. It's the OECD. It's the New World Order. It's their plan. And we have an article by Paul Watson and I up at Infowars.com. Why the banking elite want riots in America, Civil War II, the economic imperative for mass social unrest. Their own admissions of how they've engineered it. It's red-linked. Go get it. People are like, well, it's depressing. What's the point? Knowing this is coffin nails to the enemy. If you won't get up and fight back when their whole program's public, then we have no hope. Now, let's continue with these headlines. China eclipses U.S. as biggest trading nation measured in GDP. Private Federal Reserve holds 1.696 plus trillion. 16, it just goes on and on. The Chinese buying, I don't know, was they got like 2 trillion or something? The Fed's bailout of Europe continues with record $237 billion injected into foreign banks in past month. Zero hedge from the Wall Street Journal. Did you hear that? $237 billion into foreign banks in just the last month, on top of $85 billion a month injected into the private Federal Reserve banks that are also the European banks. So add that in. And again, it's all just fiat. They're just injecting it to get you into debt because it's not real. Only the debt on you is real, enforced by all the officers wearing Darth Vader outfits. You notice there's checkpoints in Darth Vader outfits and going to stick their hands down your pants. It's all about, line up, slaves. It's all about you're occupied now. It's all about, you understand that? They're going to bring you down, just like they're doing in Latin America every 10 years. They did it in 2000. They're doing it again right now. They did it in 2001, 2002. They're devaluing their currencies again. They're doing it. They do it to destroy wealth. Only the globalists who are prepositioned come out on top. It goes on. This is it. China surpasses U.S. #1 global trading partner. Okay, so that's some of the economic news. 40 ways that China is beating America. Key article by Michael Snyder of American Dream up at Infowars.com. I want to cover some of that. How Obama is wielding executive power in second term. Again, the office is becoming a dictatorship, not the puppet who sits in it. The bureaucracy through it is becoming a dictatorship. The UN over the military, executive orders where Congress can't see what the president's doing. That is a dictatorial action. How Obama is wielding executive power in second term. AP whitewashing that it's okay, saying he could use executive power to take the guns. Remember that? Obama to propose spending to boost jobs in State of the Union. More spending, more debt, not to actually get the economy going, which is bad enough because it causes inflation, but to give it only to select interest. Continuing, speech lays out next goals of saving the middle class. Venezuela sharply devaluates currency. Again, this is how they do it over and over again. Could Venezuela's mass panic buy soon be coming to America? As the devaluation accelerates, Britain's super rich, just keep getting richer. Again, Middle class disappears, the ultra-rich get even richer. Then they sick the dumbed-down poor people on anybody that even drives a nice car as if them driving a nice car hurt them. People with nice cars come to your business, dummy. Okay, let's continue. Why the banking elite want riots in America. Now, this is the big key article, and I'm going to get to that in a moment, but I want to break this down first. U.S. citizens brace for austerity impact. CNBC, they say the way to get the economy going is higher taxes, higher regulations, fines, fees, new state taxes, higher income taxes, people making $22,000 a year, massive tax increases. And Obama and his masters are laughing at you. The same global interest funded Romney and Obama. That's why the outcome is no different. But they went with Obama because everybody will just sit down who sees themselves on the left and accept torture, war, secret arrest because their guy's in there. I mean, literally, they want you dead. They're eugenicists who've got a black guy, part black up there, so he must be nice. I mean, it is, but again, it's all about surface. It's all about camouflage. You understand? I mean, they use military systems on you, and you don't want to admit you've been conned. I've had people I knew personally go, you're wrong, I'm getting $1 million from Prince Wabubi in Nigeria. And I go, listen, that's been out for a decade. That is a fake thing. Don't send them $5,000 for him to wire you $1 million. And they go, my ship has come in. You're wrong. And you know what? Those people are mad at me. It's happened to two people I know, one talk show host and one other. They're mad at me later and don't ever want to talk to me again when I'm proven right. Listen, there is no Prince Wabubi. Okay? Obama doesn't care about you either. It's like a Nigerian chain letter. Folks, it isn't real. Now, I know I'm a conspiracy theorist because I'm informed, I'm involved, and I'm telling you, look out. They want you gullible. Anybody that says, watch out, be careful, check into things, that's a bad man, a conspiracy theorist. But anybody that says, trust the government, go out and party, have a good time, get into debt, ha, 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 that's the good guy. Come on, folks, get out of the trance. I mean, I've repeatedly had people I knew go, man, I got this deal where he can get this money out of the bank. That's how gambling works, all these con games. And it's just any society in decline is obsessed with gambling and get-rich-quick schemes and all this stuff. And, folks, it isn't real. It isn't real, okay? The New World Order is a consolidation takeover program. They've paid... Our government put Mao Zedong in 1949. That's now been declassified. John Birch Society said it when they were founded in the late 50s. That's why they founded it, was because they found out, people in the military found out our government had actually put Mao in. Now declassified, I don't know, like 15 years ago. You can look it up. They put him in. He kills between 64 and 80-something million. The numbers are debated. I said I'd go to your calls, and I'm already digressing. I promised to go to them, Joe and others. Listen to me. Not our government, the globalists put them in power. Then Nixon was sent to open things up. Okay, America's ready. In the early 70s now, U.S. Ambassador George Herbert Walker Bush, China implements one-child policy, forced abortions, they have slave labor. They begin leveraging out all the competition. Only select Westerners connected to the Kissinger Group, only a few hundred firms are allowed to operate in China and have the very best deals. Or if you're a subsidiary, you've got to go through them. Okay? So it's a suicide nets, Apple, all of it. Very liberal. Well, it's liberal, so suicide nets is, forced abortions, it's liberal. Secret arrest and torture, it's liberal. It's Al Gore. It's okay if he, set the policy for the suicide nets, I mean, he's liberal. I mean, he talks like a Nelly, so it must be all right. He acts non-threatening. He'll slit your throat in 2 seconds. They're demons, okay? Okay, we're in danger, folks. Anyways, continuing. I mean, secret arrest, torture, the control grids, the 10 FEMA regions, the 10 FEMA governors, the 10 FEMA regional governors over the rural council. I mean, it's happening. We're going into receivership. They want to start a civil war in the middle of this to demonize opposition that knows what's going on. They got shows everywhere demonizing anybody that talks about this because it's a takeover. And you can't do the delusional thing where you watch the sitcom where the terrorist is a gun owner and you watch the drama where the terrorist is a gun owner and loves the Founding Fathers and feel like you're a winner when you watch your neighbor drug away because they're a patriot in the future. You're not part of the winning team. Your water, your food's having chemical and bioweapons put in it. They're killing you. Troops, they're killing you with experimental vaccines. Your cancer rates and suicide rates are off the chart. Foster kids, almost 70% are on psychotropic drugs. Just like the troops, anybody the globalists control will show you where they're going. They want full control over everybody. So the economy will never turn around. None of this will ever get fixed. None of this will stop until you realize that it is a master scientific plan written up by inbred royalty, Rothschilds, Rockefellers, and others of social Darwinism. That it's their right to be totally cold-blooded and wipe everybody out for the new age to begin, their new age, where they will become God-men. Now, I don't know if that's really going to happen or not. They believe it. The media always watches Endgame and says, Jones says they're going to live forever. I didn't say that. I quote them, bibliographed, what book, what statement, what UN document, where they say it. This is an emergency red level alert warning you. You know about all the secret testing, all of it. Continuing. They made insider deals with China, and I was reading communist Chinese generals are worth billions because they own and control the licenses to get the factories where slaves are literally marched in, or you can just starve to death. And they're taking the rural people's property, making them go into the big compact cities, just like they've done in southern Mexico under the UN to force them up to Mexico City. It is exploiting the third world to build slave widgets where idiot Westerners buy it to be deindustrialized and enslave themselves, while the police state grid is put in place. So when they collapse it all, they can then everyone beg for the fewer resources from the system with hat in hand to accept higher levels of social engineering into the next phase. And once all that's put in place, then they start having the controlled bioweapons releases and wiping out large swaths of the population. Everything you've seen up to this point is just testing and conditioning, getting the public ready for it. So that's why they have now announced China is the biggest owner of U.S. debt, that China now has a bigger actual trade, not just fake fiat GDP. We've been maneuvered into this. Maneuvered into higher taxes, higher regulations, carbon taxes that China's exempt from. This is economic warfare. That isn't rhetoric. This is economic warfare against our republic to bring this system in. And it's the same system from Australia to Germany to Canada to the United States, from Wales to Scotland, from Ireland proper to... you name it. It's the same global standardized system on record designed to break up the family, dumb down the children, drug the population, just getting you used to it. They're now rolling out vaccines that you'll never be depressed again, that literally attack your cerebral cortex, injectable selective lobotomies. I mean, you're in a science fiction movie. You're in a science fiction movie, and the only reason I'm still alive is because they underestimated us, and there are a lot of good people in the system now, and this thing is compartmentalized where they don't want to mess with the research project. They want to roll it out and see what happens, and it's a weird rule that they have under social Darwinism that if we wake up to this and say no and fight them and reverse it, they're not going to do it. It's a weird metaphysical rule that we've got to invite them in. We've got to give into this. It's the free will issue. And I'm telling you right now, ladies and gentlemen, you're already walking dead, many of you. You've already been eating and drinking and been given shots of things that even if you try to eat the best vitamins and minerals and exercise, you're not going to. I mean, the actuaries are off the chart. The cancer rates, the death rates, the longevity is lowering everywhere. I mean, we're in trouble. And it's going to get worse and crazier and weirder and stranger, and we're never going to come out of it. And here's the key. They're selling a self-fulfilling prophecy. The video's up on Infowars.com. World Banker makes stunning confession where Wolfenson is going to all the big universities, there's a bunch of these speeches, and admitting, oh, the West is about to be all poor and all the power is going to China and India. Well, not the power, but to the elites over there because they're part of the globalist program to leverage out the wealth. We don't have to become poor for them to succeed. Globalism isn't meant to raise everybody up. It's meant to lower everyone. That's the great lie of globalism. And things are only going to get worse until we realize this and say no to it. We're going to go to break and come right back with Joe and everybody else for 2 segments. And our guest is joining us. And then we'll continue taking phone calls. But this is a nightmare where you're seen as dumb animals who aren't even conscious, who don't even have rights, who are slated for an orderly extermination. This whole thing is a giant technocratic laboratory in their own words.
While we fight to retain our liberty, while we fight to expose globalism, we have to realize we're talking about a very powerful combination of power.
Renowned author and expert Joel Skousen breaks down the globalist plan to shut down America and stage a new world war.
In one day, America will go from day to night. And if you haven't prepared in advance, there's not enough time to prepare in 24 hours, even if you saw it that early.
Coming to the InfoWar in November is our new documentary film presentation.
Strategic relocation is a systematic way to think strategically in the future about how do I safeguard.
Joel Skousen, Strategic Relocation.
The freeways are going to be crowded, they're going to run out of gasoline, they're going to run out of food, and then they're going to start to go north and south of those freeways.
Joel Skousen is renowned as one of the world's foremost experts in strategic relocation and the securing of your home.
We talk about natural disasters, the health environment, we talk about pollution, the water quality. My personal experience about being in every one of these states.
Government is digging in for the organized, incremental collapse of society and world war.
The U.S. isn't building huge underground bases and bunkers because of some terrorist threat. They know that a massive nuclear attack is coming. They want that attack to come. Most people won't even be ready and won't be able to get out of town when any of these nuclear weapons fall, because there'll be absolute panic.
There is no preparedness without strategy.
What I tell people is that you do have time. Prepare wisely in advance.
This Christmas, give the gift of preparedness. Strategic Relocation, the film, with Joel Skousen and Alex Jones. Now, I just want to be clear. They sell globalism, NAFTA, GATT, open borders. All of this is what will fix the economy. But you notice it always gets worse. They tell you they're not going to raise taxes on people making less than $250,000. They raise it on people making $22,000 a year. That's CNBC today. And I hear this everywhere I go. People are freaking out. Folks, the insurance companies wrote this legislation to make poor people buy insurance and to get rid and phase out Medicare and Medicaid. But they're going to sit there and go, right-wingers don't want you to have this. You notice it got passed. It's just so horrible what they've got planned. They're not nice socialists that want to give you a free teddy bear. Nobody rides for free, folks. Freedom and small government creates wealth. Big government creates hell on earth, and this big government is eugenics-based. Don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, you can get 11 memberships for $5.95 to see the video of the Daily Radio Show and the Nightly News and all my films, and that support helps our broadcast as well, but that's not even the issue. 11 people with the same username and passcode can sign on. That's less than 59 cents a month per person. Go to InfoWarsNews.com and become a member today and get your friends and family watching. Wake somebody up today. Joe in Ohio, listening on WAIS 770 AM. Thanks for holding, Joe. You heard that big breakdown of China surpassing us. Yeah, it's an economic warfare with the globalists, bringing America down, raising our taxes and regulations, and then moving all our businesses to China, totally conscious. We can turn this around if we understand it's by design. Go ahead.
Well, Mr. Jones, I agree with what you're saying. It's been proven many times to me and to quite a few people over the years. And what I would like to do is thank you for what you're doing. I know it's difficult. At times you seem like you're going 6 different ways at once. I can understand that. I mean, you've got a lot on your shoulders. And back when I started listening, really listening to the program about 8 years ago, when I had time to, it's just proven to me and some of the folks I listen with that, yeah, there's some things going on in this world that need to be taken care of. And
well, my problem is I get angry at Obama grandstanding about how much he loves poor people and engaged in class warfare when he represents the robber barons, eugenicists who are doing forced abortions now in Africa that the federal government just funded 3 years ago. And then I get to see Jamie Foxx saying racist things all day while they're killing black kids. And it's so over the top. And Obama has got, quote, poor people thinking he really wants to help them when he raised their taxes. And then I know they're moving all our jobs to China, not even to help the Chinese, but to even lower their standard of living. And we're totally being enslaved. I mean, this is a fact. We're being absolutely economically attacked. What do we do about this? I say we get angry, we get the word out.
Definitely. And again, that's what I want to reiterate is as long as I've been listening, and I thought years ago, especially after 9/11, boy, that was something that kind of woke a lot of people up. There's still a lot of people that need to be woke up about it, but the day that happened, and the stuff that went on after, as far as the media, it wasn't right. It wasn't right. And
regardless, 9/11 has been used to set up a police state, now admittedly aimed at gun owners, conservatives, libertarians, returning veterans. Undoubtedly, I was right. It happened. And yes, the globalists run Al-Qaeda. It's not even so much our government. It's criminal elements within. Shane in Virginia. Welcome, sir. Thank you for calling.
First of all, Alex, I just want to let you know happy birthday.
Thank you. It is my birthday. Big 39. I'm getting to be old man here.
Yeah, well, guess what? I got you beat by 1 year. I'll be 40 here in a couple of weeks.
All right, brother. Well, good to have you call in. What's on your mind?
Anyway, first of all, I want to talk. I woke up about, it's sad to say that forgive me, I'm getting over the flu. It's sad to say that I just woke up probably less than half a year ago. Anyway, about the flu vaccines. The flu vaccines, I haven't had a flu shot since the 90s, and this is the first time that I had the flu since the 90s. The last time I had a flu shot, I got sick. Anyway, isn't it ironic, if you actually think about it, if they were actually, you know how every fall they say, hey, you need to get a flu shot, right? And as soon as everybody gets a flu shot, all of a sudden, the flu spreads. Now,
No. There are actually studies by major governments. You can pull them up. We've done these reports. Your common sense is dead on, where the regular flu shot actually causes the flu. That's why they give the nasal live virus first, and they admit in the literature it's actually causing. And, of course, they spread the flu themselves so that they can then scare everybody. Look, this government alone has declassified more than, I don't know, it's more than 2,000 programs, many of which were lethal, spraying lethal stuff on towns, foster kids, troops. In the old days, it was minorities because they primed the pump with, well, those are minorities, let's kill them or hurt them. But now it's everybody. And it's been everybody actually for a long time in phase 2. But, I mean, there's been no reparations. There's been no big investigation. It's like, oh, we apologize for doing this or that. So, obviously, why do we trust anything they're doing? Do you see my point?
Exactly. That's what I was trying to say. I mean, imagine if they were to give the flu shot in the springtime, you'd probably see a flu epidemic through the summer.
There's no doubt. There's no doubt. And if you get the flu shot 1 year, it doubles your chances of catching other variants of it. That's the Canadian government's 2 studies 4 years ago. I mean, we already knew that. But how many people got a flu shot for the first time and got the flu a day later? I mean, even Piers Morgan got deathly ill a couple days after taking the shot. I mean, this is not a game, folks. These are not. The government and Big Pharma. Most Big Pharma was in Germany under Hitler. Bayer, IG Farben, you name it. They're like, oh, people that ran the death camps, they run our drugs now. Oh, well, they're nice people. And Bayer didn't just get caught in the 40s. Remember, they got caught for 11 years shipping out millions of ampules of Factor VIII that gave every hemophiliac or others that took that blood product drug, gave them HIV and hepatitis. And then it came out in the court documents that they knew it and, quote, didn't care. Well, it's more than didn't care. Can you imagine giving hundreds of thousands of people HIV and hepatitis? Can you imagine that, brother?
No, I couldn't. You know what the sad thing is? The sad thing is that people they're so blind. I've been trying to wake people up, and they call me a conspiracy theorist. Yeah, everything you said is being true, and I'm not committing you as God and all that. I know you're not.
No, but I mean, it's on record about Bayer. Everything I've said's on record. If it wasn't, I'd be sued into oblivion.
Yeah, I know that. And the thing about it is, I used to be a big Glenn Beck supporter. I really was. Big Glenn Beck fan. And my wife thought that I went off the limb. Now, my wife looks at me and goes, Shane, I can't listen to Glenn Beck anymore.
Visit Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. When you're on the site, you can also tune in 24 hours a day to my daily radio broadcast. There's also a free iPhone app to listen to the syndicated radio show when and where you want.